Hey, Scott from MyGrowthRings.com here once again. It's in my garage shop, and for the last time in my garage shop. That's right. I've been very much derailed this last week by the final steps of our move, and today is the day the entire garage gets emptied out. So the next video you see of me will be in a temporary space in my sister's basement. Also, quick heads up if you happen to be one of our board members, if you're a channel member at the level of either chairman or board member, we are doing a board meeting this Tuesday night. Those happen on Zoom, and you'll find the link to that in the community tab on the channel. If you have any questions about that, you're curious how that works, you can always email me. My email address is my name, which is Scott Markwood, MARKWOOD, at gmail.com. And the link is already there, and look forward to meeting you, 8 o'clock Eastern time. So the follow-up that needs to be done is I had one more thing I wanted to talk with you about using the Shopsmith Jigsaw as a file or an abrasive machine. We showed how you could use it as a die filer. But the one thing I really wanted to show you, I haven't had time to do. And really, you're getting the short end of the stick here because I just don't have time to give this all the attention it deserves. But here we go. You can, in addition to putting files in the saw, you can also put abrasive sticks. Robert, who is quite an active commenter here on these channels, also posts over on the Shopsmith forum. He has shared pictures showing how he has added abrasives to his sander. I'll put a link to that conversation in the video description. But another way we can do this is you can purchase small drum sanders that are primarily for use on a drill press. Now, ideally, what you're looking for is a 1/4-inch shank on these. And even better, I did see that at Lowe's, they are selling a Craftsman brand version of this that has a hex shaft, 1/4-inch hex, like you'd put in the end of a cordless drill. That would be fantastic for this. But I picked up this set. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them lots of places. The smallest diameter here has an 1/8-inch shank on it, which I don't know how well that would hold up under the kind of loads that we might put against it. But for sure, we can take these with the 1/4-inch shank and put those into the jigsaw just like we do the file. Now, you may have noticed that when I did the file video that I took the chuck completely out of the saw. That was on purpose. And let me show you how we do that again. We use the 5/32 hex wrench, the Shopsmith toolbox, on the bottom set screw on the chuck, and then that allows us to pull that out. So we've got, this is the chuck that holds it onto the saw. This is the chuck. This is the set screw that holds it onto the saw. And the set screw here and here are what are pushing in on two little slugs that act as the jaws. You know, I mentioned that if you drop your blade, it can fall straight down into that oil bath. Well, it hasn't happened to me yet, but I've come awfully close. If you loosen these set screws up enough, that those little slugs can get sideways at about a 45-degree angle, they can drop right out the bottom and they can disappear down into the bottom as well. So I do this off of the saw. Take the chuck off. It's that easy to do. And what we have here is something of a V block. If you look at this casting, the Shopsmith one has a bit more of a V shape to it. What I want to do is I want to back this set screw out, the set screw that's closest to, let's say, the bottom of the V. And I want to have the little slug below the surface of that. So the set screw is now going to be pushing the shank of my file, or the shank of my sanding drum in this case, against the bottom of that V. All right, so there, hopefully you can see what's happening. That set screw is pushing. Now, if I have one of those slugs there applying pressure, that's fine too. But what I don't want to have for this is I don't want to have this centered in between the normal jaws that we typically put a saw blade in. Because what happens then is you get some forward and back play between them. I want to be pushing against that little V block, and that's what's important when I'm using a file or an abrasive drum. Now I'm going to take the opposite side, the side that currently has both of those little discs, and I'm going to tighten that up because I just don't want them going anywhere. I could remove them, in fact, at this point. And then we're going to add this back onto the saw, tightening the set screw at the bottom, 5/32 set screw. And one thing I'll tell you about this Total Shop jigsaw, that is not even close to a tight tolerance on the fit between the chuck and that shaft. The Shopsmith one is a much tighter tolerance. And so the set screw is going, in this case, I have it going in from the front. So if I push on this drum or pull on this drum, it's nice and tight. But if I push on the side, look at that. See the amount of movement I'm able to get? And that's not the shaft inside the chuck, that's the chuck attaching to the saw. I've never experienced that with the Shopsmith jigsaw. So be aware of that. If that were the case here, and this is the way I had to live with it, I would be sure I'm pushing against the front of this and not applying a lot of pressure against the side. But that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Anyway, you can make your own inserts that would allow this to fill and to give you closer to a zero clearance insert. That'll give you support if you're sanding very thin points, like something maybe that you cut out on the jigsaw or the scroll saw. You can also just take a piece of 1/4 inch plywood or masonite, cut it to fit this, and cut a hole the size you need. I tend to do that because it's just so straightforward and easy instead of having to go to all the trouble of fitting it within that perfect circle right there. But here, let's take a look at that. Now, why would somebody do this? Oh, by the way, this is an extra long drum. You'll see a lot of these drums, they sell these at Harbor Freight, for example, that are for the drill press, and they're pretty short. And those, you do run the risk of the abrasive coming up above the table. And then if your piece that you're sanding gets below the drum gets pushed completely off of the sleeve. If I have a drill press, why would I do this? What's the point of this? Well, okay, there are two reasons why you might do this that I can think of. The first one is out of convenience. If you're using the jigsaw and you got the jigsaw out, instead of converting the machine to the drill press, you can do your sanding right on the jigsaw. Straightforward. The other reason, though, is there may be situations where you're wanting to sand in a certain direction and you're not wanting to introduce the grooves and scratches that come from that rotary drum. Okay, there are just some cases with the grain of the material that you're cutting where you would prefer to not introduce scratches in that direction. So it gives you another way of using your drum sanders if you happen to have this saw. Also, because this isn't spinning, we can make our own sanding drums in different shapes. You can take a square block of wood, drill a 1/4 inch hole and pass a 1/4 inch bolt through it, add some epoxy, let that set up, and then now you have a square or a triangular or a round drum that you can add here. That was covered in some of the Shopsmith literature. I'll put a screenshot here. I forget which one, Power Tool Woodworking for Everyone or the Owner's Manual for the Jigsaw, but it's very straightforward and simple to do as long as you're not in the middle of moving your shop. All right, so thank you for your patience on this one. There will be a follow-up video, a stump Q&A midweek, and we'll get back on track here very soon. If you're a board member at, again, the chairman level or the board of director level, I will see you Tuesday night. And if you can't make it, we'll record that session and make that available to you as well. All right, make it a great week.